Welcome to the State House on this beautiful day, and we've been at a lot of activity today, starting with the Garden of Heroes with a Lieutenant Governor, and so I'm happy to be joined again by Lieutenant Governor Lita McCaffrey, along with Representative Slater, Senator Miller, members of the Department of Business Regulation team, all the stakeholders, and all the members of the General Assembly here that has played a role, our senators and our representatives. And as I prepare to sign in the Rhode Island Cannabis Act, which will legalize and safely regulate recreation adult use cannabis in our state. This will make Rhode Island the 19th state to legalize cannabis, including our neighbors in Massachusetts and Connecticut. As Rep. Slater and Senator Miller can attest, getting to sign today's bill took a great deal of effort. It certainly wasn't a straight line. It took hundreds of hours of work, meetings, stakeholder sessions, negotiations, and collaboration. And that's how good legislation gets done. So the Speaker, Senate President, and the General Assembly have been great partners with our office as we work on behalf of Rhode Islanders. I want to thank them for their collaboration on this legislation. The bill I signed today into law ensures that legalization is equitable, controlled, and safe. Those were three things that were very important to all of us who were negotiating this final agreement as Rhode Island begins this new chapter. It also establishes a framework for common sense regulation with a strong emphasis on public health and public safety. In addition to that, this bill creates a process for automatic expungement of past cannabis convictions. This was something that our administration included in my initial proposals with the General Assembly, and I thank them for including it in the final product. The bill also makes important investments in the creation of an equitable, accessible cannabis retail market by setting aside certain application fee revenues and reserving a portion of new licenses for social equity applicants and worker-owned cooperatives. Again, that was a part of our original ask of the General Assembly, and I know that that was part of their original intent, so thank you. Before I conclude, I want to thank my team at the Department of Regulation under the direction of Director Liz Tanner. I especially wanted to give special recognition to Pam Toro and Matt Santa Cruz for extraordinary amount of effort they put into this legislation, and I visited DBR a few weeks back to see the extensive work that was going on at the moment and the extensive work that's going to be added to everybody's schedule here to make sure that this legislation is done well, it's regulated safely, and it's a benefit to the people in the state of Rhode Island. So together, we got the job done, and we got it done right. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Leader McCaffrey for his comments. Leader?
Thank you, Governor. It's certainly an honor to be here this afternoon for this bill signing. But first of all, it's really a momentous day for the state of Rhode Island. And I'd like to recognize my colleague, Chairman Miller. He's been a tireless advocate for this issue for over 10 years. Not 10 days, not a year, but 10 years he's been working towards this day. And it we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the leadership of President Ruggiero in this matter, who 2 years ago charged Senator Miller and I that we work on this. We worked on it with our staff, and we came up with a bill that would pass the Senate and went to the House. And then after that, it didn't pass the House last year. Representative Slater, Speaker Sakachi, Chairman Miller and I, we worked through the summer, into the fall, through the fall, to come up with a bill that we presented in the Assembly this year and had a hearing process through it. And we took all the interest of all the parties that came forward and had questions and concerns with the bill and tried to address them as best you can. And a bill like this had so many different components in it. You had the expungement component that we worked hard on and had to continually change. We had the number of places that are going to be able to sell. That kept changing. How are we going to allocate the licenses, the equity licenses? How are we going to get the money for the equity licenses? But I want to go back to Senator Miller. He's champions this issue. He spent hour after hour after hour reviewing the revised legislation. And I'm glad that we're to this point here today. And at this point, we do have a couple of my colleagues here. We have Senator Acosta and Senator Casada, who are here for the bill signing. They've been active in participating in this, and both were really supporting the social equity licenses and how we were going to fund them so that the licenses are passed out in a fair and equitable manner across the board, not just to wealthy businesses. We want to have people who can go into the business, make it a successful business, and have them continue to grow. Knowing that cannabis prohibition has been a failed policy for decades, we're glad that we got to this point so that we can have the bill signing. There are also a number of financial safeguards in the legislation that are important because that we want to make sure that the money goes to the different communities of interest, and that we make sure that the industry thrives in the right direction. There is some good in not being the first into the industry. You see what other states have done, and we took a number of different things from other states. Also, I just want to thank Jake Basilian. He's our chief of staff, but he's been involved in this at least for the last 2.5 years with Senator Miller and I, and he crafted the first piece of legislation that we put in. So he really has his mark on this legislation, and he should be entitled to that credit. At this point, at this point in time, I'd like to invite my chairman of Health and Human Services, Chairman Miller, to the podium to say a few words. And this is a day that he's been waiting a long time for. Chairman Miller?
Thank you. Thank you. So I too want to thank Jake. There was a time when it was me and Jake, me giving Jake ideas and him putting it in legal language that could potentially be a bill, and it was a team of two was not enough to get this done. So we're glad the team expanded as time went by, and Senator Casada and Senator Acosta, I asked Senator Acosta if he wanted to make the remarks because he's one of the great orators of the Senate. But I even offered to lend him my tie, but we thought that we keep to the script here at least as much as possible. And it has been a long road, but I couldn't be happier with the result. About a decade ago, we passed a law to decriminalize possession of small amounts of marijuana. It was an important step towards addressing the failed policy of prohibition here in Rhode Island. In the years since, I have been working to take the next step forward, the legalization of adult use cannabis. I have been deeply fortunate to have the many amazing partners along the way, including Representative Edith Agello, who previously sponsored before Rep. Scott Slater, who's here with us today. Collaborating with my House colleagues has been extremely rewarding, and none of this would have been possible without them. Last year, President Ruggiero, as Leader McCaffrey mentioned, asked me and Leader McCaffrey to develop a new proposal to match the House's efforts. And I want to thank Senator Ruggiero for that support in creating that partnership. They each deserve enormous credit for today's achievement. This year I was proud to partner with Representative Slater on a joint Senate-House proposal. We did a great deal of work to prepare the legislation for introduction with support from our colleagues. Also, I need to recognize the many stakeholders, advocates, and others who have been involved throughout the process. Many of you are here today, and including Ellen, who worked feverishly on behalf of the medical community. We did not always agree on specifics, but we have shared the same goal, ending prohibition equitably in a way that benefits all Rhode Islanders. All your feedback and advocacy has made this final product that much better. Our work in the General Assembly relies on public participation in the journey to today's event. exemplifies that process at its best. The new industry this law will create will take time to fully blossom. There is more work to be done to prepare for the opening of the retail market. Ultimately, I believe we will have created a structure that will be effective and resilient, and which will ensure all Rhode Islanders can share in the benefits. I want to go a little bit off script and off subject for a moment. I hope you'll give me another moment to do this. And I want to put that in context by reading the last sentence that I read last night before I passed the bill. There is much to be done in this session and in the future that is overdue and urgent, and much of it potentially more impactful than this before you. But every effort has a moment and a time when we can agree to move forward to a better Rhode Island. I did not know that children were being gunned down in Texas as I spoke that last sentence. Stop with the prayers. Gun safety legislation needs action. It's urgent. And on behalf of our children and those down, our children in Rhode Island, and those gunned down in Uvalde, Newtown, Parkland, it's urgent, it's overdue, and more impactful. Enough. The moment in time for these gun safety bills is now. So please pass some of the bills that are before the Senate and not yet before the full, both the Senate and the House, but not on the floor yet, including 2653 to limit magazine capacity, 2244 to regulate assault weapons, 2734 for safe storage, 2825 to prohibit open carry in public, and the bill 2637 to raise the age to 21 to buy long guns. Thank you. And I believe next on the speaking schedule is my compadre,
Thank you.
Scott Swain.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you everyone who's here today. It's really an honor to be here, and something that I've been working on for a number of years. So I'm very proud of this day that we have this bill signing today. It's a great honor. I really like to thank Senator Miller, Leader McCaffrey, President Donnie Ruggiero for their work, collaboration on this bill. For many years, I've been putting this bill in, and Senator Miller would put his version in, and I put my version in, and we'd kind of go to our own corners and advocate for what we thought was the best bill we had. And this year, we were able to work collaboratively. After last year, the Senate had passed it. We kind of came together in the fall and worked many hours, put in a lot of time, and I think it was great, and it was really an honor to work with them and to get this done. And also the governor had his proposal, and it was great that we were able to work with his administration and staff. And as he said in his remarks, that's the way good legislation is done. You come together, you collaborate, you work, and so it's been a great honor. I think Leader McCaffrey talked about a lot of the details of the bill. The one aspect that I'm really excited about and happy about this bill is that we put a lot of time into the social equity piece. We made sure that 25% of the licenses would be set aside for social equity applicants. We have a great automatic expungement in there. Originally we had a petition based, and we worked with not only the advocates but my colleague who's here with me today, Representative Leonella Felix, was very important and weighed in a lot on that and put in a lot of time on her own, meeting with the courts, the AG, and worked very hard. So thank you, Leonella, for your work on that. And I'm sure many more of my colleagues would be here today, but we have a caucus inside. So I thank Speaker Sakachi, Leader Blazajewski, Whip Kazarian, and everyone else of my colleagues that helped navigate the debate and get this legislation to the point where it is, where we can sign it today. And I would be remiss if I didn't really thank, it's really an honor today. My wife and my kids are here today, and my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law and my niece, and they're all here. It's great that they can come and see the sort of the accolades around the work, because you spend so much, you make so much sacrifices being in public service that they kind of take the brunt of it. She's always at home with the kids, and I'm at meetings and staying up here working on legislation and working hard to represent the people of Rhode Island. And I think I'm proud of the product that we put forth in this legislation. I think it's probably one of the best legalization bills. I'm a little biased. So thank you to everyone, and also, Nicole McCarty, the legal counsel to the speaker. She was instrumental in the work that she put in on this, and just day in and day out up here till 12 o'clock, similar to Jake Bazillion, who's over on the Senate side, who drafted one of the earlier versions. So with all the staff that helped make us look great, it's wonderful to have them and advocating and pushing on these bills. And I see so many folks that I've been dealing with for so many years on cannabis and legalization and the medical program. We have Ellen Smith, who's here today, who advocated very strongly for the patients on a regular basis. And that's the other thing I'm proud of. I think for years we had been treating the medical program as a recreational program, and I think the focus, as people said, what are the next steps? I think we get the recreational program up and going, and then we turn back to our focus on the medical and make sure that we bring back the compassion into that program and make sure that patients, get safe access to their medicine. And the folks that want to use it recreationally, then we can treat them as a recreational program and get the compassion back to the patient. So thank you, everyone who worked on this legislation with me. Thank you to not only the compassion centers, cultivators I see here, patients, caregivers. Everyone played an important role, and everyone came together. There was so many different facets to this bill, and so many different issues that popped up. So it's been great, and it's wonderful that we get to this point where we can sign legislation. And as Senator Miller said, we'll be back. We'll be back. I'm sure there'll be stuff that we need to work on and continually work on the program. So thank you, everyone that could be here today, and I look forward to continuing the work. Thank you.